Ricochet's AEW debut has to be considered a disappointment. It's basically the story of every big name who comes to AEW, a territory where Tony Khan doesn't have a clue how to create stars. Tony Khan and AEW Creative are basically timekeepers who just tell these wrestlers when they're gonna wrestle, for how long, with no regard for long-term stories. Britt Baker has been so misused in 2024, she's done more work as a dentist than a wrestler.
This f***ing mark up Tony Khan's ass has a toothache. He's telling everybody in the locker room, and now he's actually going to Britt Baker while she's getting her makeup for the show. This is unbelievable. Holy shit.
Maybe next time don't bite down so hard when the snowman's carrot's in your mouth. Anyway, like most talent in AEW, Ricochet has struggled mightily. As a babyface, he's a generational wrestler capable of having great matches, but all that's going to do is make Dave Meltzer wet, and there's no money in that. But since turning heel, Ricochet's heat is over 9,000. It doesn't hurt that the heel turn coincided with AEW moving to smaller buildings, thereby making his reactions seem louder. Ricochet turned heel on social media long ago, but he's now fostered that internet wrestling unlikability into a character that people want to hate. And that's all you can ask for in a heel. Today, we're going to talk about how Andrew Ricochet has captured lightning in a bottle as a heel, and why his first time as a bad guy in a national wrestling promotion will allow him to flourish as part of AEW's hottest group. Subscribe in Swahili, and be on the lookout for them stickers. Ricochet hit his ceiling in WWE and stayed there for years. His limitations on the mic rendered his otherworldly wrestling irrelevant, because WWE is a storytelling company. Despite seemingly being a better fit in AEW, it was the same old song. Ricochet debuted in the Casino Battle Royale at All In, only to disappear before the finish. This set the tone for what has been a forgettable babyface run for Ricochet, similar to his final moments in WWE. In a segment I simply couldn't believe, babyface Ricochet turned heel by basically begging the Hurt Syndicate to join their group, only to get denied. I still think this was terrible booking, but it opened the door for fans to boo Ricky, and boo did they ever. Tony Khan has no authority over his roster whatsoever. As a result, one of the biggest changes you tend to see with wrestlers who join AEW is their unhinged and unchecked behavior on social media. As a struggling babyface, Ricochet told some random fan to S his whole D. For more on that, check out this video right here. Twitter Ricky is a thing. As a babyface, it was cringe. But as a heel, the crash out is cinematic. He's performing. He's antagonizing. That laugh that the white wrestling media calls a Ricochet laugh is actually a Jada laugh. Thank you very much. More importantly, Ricochet is drawing inspiration from one of the great heels of this generation, Manosphere pioneer Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate became radioactive on social media through his misogynist views, his legal issues, and influence on young men. He also looks like Ricochet if he was the final boss in a Bloodsport movie. Twitter Ricky recently retweeted Tate in a perfect meta moment. In response to a fan blaming Ricochet for Samantha Irvin's WWE exit, the third Tate brother said, "Who else is gonna make my sandwiches for me when I'm hungry?" Fans are taking the bait, incensed that Ricochet had the nerve to channel such a despicable character. Ricochet fucking sucks for retweeting Andrew Tate. I don't care if it's a gimmick. I don't care if it's a character. Spreading the misogynistic rhetoric of a literal sex trafficker emboldens the worst kinds of people. It's not okay. Okay, Catherine. Like it or not, Ricochet has you and 5,000 sheep eating out of his hands in that tweet alone. He's only gonna lean into what's working. And personally, I love it. Ricochet finally has an actual personality to hate, and it couldn't have come a moment too soon. We're in the bounce back era, said Ricochet. Twitter Ricky went on a tweet, "I don't want anyone switching it up. If you didn't like me before, you missed your chance. No jumping on the bandwagon now, cheese curlers." Kinda sounds like a shot at King Alfie, but if I see a wrestler go from floundering flippy babyface to polarizing heel with a personality, I got to give credit where it's due. If he keeps it up with this Andrew Tate gimmick, then I can promise you the hate won't be forced. The hate will be so real. Bingo. That's the point. Ricochet has captured lightning in a bottle. He's channeled the legitimate hate building against him online and paired it with an Andrew Tate gimmick, one that'll throttle AEW's snowflake audience, and you'd love to see it. There are many more hardcore fans among AEW's audience, and they tend to spend more time online than the Jacksonville Jaguars spend finding new coaches. When Ricochet came to AEW, it quickly became obvious that the only way this man was going to connect with this audience was as a heel. Even though Ricochet was rebuffed by the Hurt Syndicate in what really was a terrible segment, Ricochet will all but likely join the group as part of a swerve, no pun intended. Still, Ricochet was still damaged by the segment. Not only was he rejected by the Hurt Syndicate and made to look like a complete goof, but then top babyface Swerve Strickland called him a follower, which will immediately put him in the follower box when he does join the Hurt Syndicate. But if that's what it takes to get people to finally care about Ricochet outside of his wrestling, get it how you live. Y'all looking at it wrong. That's the homies. They ain't beat me up today. They're just looking out for me. They like me. Fans are booing this bald man vociferously. They're chanting, "We want Samantha" at live shows. It's like they were just waiting for their chance to boo Ricochet, and it's finally come. I can easily see Twitter Ricky becoming the Dominic Mysterio of this group. In fact, that's what the Hurt Syndicate needs. Somebody to emphasize that they are heels. There are so many heels in AEW, some of these heels are inevitably going to get cheered. The Hurt Syndicate is no different. Their theme song is catchy. Fans love singing "We Hurt People." Bobby Lashley is a big star. Shelton Benjamin is an institution. MVP is a legend. Why would anybody boo them? Ricochet, that's why. Assuming he joins, Ricochet is the only member of the Hurt Syndicate whose legacy is still in question, so that heat against him will be the most potent and the most toxic. That means Ricochet stands to benefit the most from a Hurt Syndicate alliance. The Hurt Syndicate is basically a heel stable that gets babyface reactions. I mean, look where they are. AEW, the incel capital of the world where showers are optional. Every Dave Meltzer approved wrestler like Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., Jay White, Kenny Omega, Commander, or Kazuchika Okada are either forgettable, albeit well-meaning white boys, or international super workers, whatever that means, whose following does not translate outside of a message board. In some cases, they're all the above. Cut to 3 well-dressed, suited up, booted up black men with all that star power from up north coming into the territory, and of course they're cooler than all these Human Wrestling Magazine cutouts. It's like if 3 Denzel Washingtons walked into the gathering of the Juggalos. But with Ricochet, fans will have an actual reason to boo the Hurt Syndicate the way they would if Tony Khan knew anything about character development, and therefore knew how to book actual hateable heels instead of just waiting for that heat to fall in his lap. As a member of the Hurt Syndicate, Ricochet can hide his lack of promo skills by just starting a sentence and letting the crowd boo him down. He could just start a sentence without ever finishing it, like Dave Meltzer, except Dave just rambles on while Twitter Ricky would stop talking and give a cold stare to the fans who turned on him. In the meantime, MVP can do the heavy lifting on promos, and who knows, maybe Ricochet will learn a thing or two. Let's face it, Ricochet was never really all that interesting as a babyface, and if he was, he had a tough time conveying it through promos. It was the only thing holding him back. But as a non-interesting babyface who could wrestle, Ricochet was a prototypical Meltzerian wrestler. In fact, Ricky was one of the only black wrestlers Dave Meltzer gave the time of day because he was willing to flip for it alongside other white boys. That's the only way black people can get make-believe 5-star ratings from Dave Meltzer, by the way, whatever that means. Over 250 wrestlers have been awarded the fake 5-star rating, and only 6 of them have been black. All 6 wrestled alongside at least one white person. You know, like a cracker cosign. No all-black match has ever gotten a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer dating back to the 80s. Who knows, maybe Swerve versus Ricochet will be the first all-black wrestling match to get a 5-star rating. But then again, who cares? This is not a plea for DEI, by the way. 5-star matches don't mean shit. Dave has cracker stars that mostly showcase Asian competitors like the Dalgona Squid Game. Get it how you live. That's Dave's fetish, and that's Dave's bias. Again, get it how you live. Dave has tanked his career by giving every AEW pay-per-view match with a false finish a 5-star rating. And oh, by the way, viewership and attendance has never been lower. Middle-aged Dave is an AARP wrestling analyst in his 60s. Star ratings are strictly based on the opinions and fetishes from a stuttering boring sicko who never wrestled. An opinion, by the way, which skews heavily Japanese and all elite. It's no coincidence that New Japan and AEW couldn't draw in 2024. 5-star matches are subject to bias, and Dave's ratings are a great indicator of what's not cool in pro wrestling. That's the only value I take out of them. Nothing in Africa NXT got a 5-star rating in 2024, yet they've been killing AEW in viewership and ratings since moving to the CW. Imagine that. It takes a special type of person to be an interesting babyface, and it's usually when they're a flawed character. MJF was on his way to an all-time babyface run because he's always been known to be a scumbag, but as a babyface, he was our scumbag. He was slowly starting to learn right from wrong, and the fans were on board. CM Punk is a compelling babyface because he's compelling. He's polarizing. He has a strong opinion, and not everybody agrees with it. In fact, there are 2 characters right now in Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre who are telling WWE fans that he's a hypocrite. Cousin Phil isn't just a flip guy who you're supposed to like because he could do really cool moves and wrestle in 5-star matches. F that. CM Punk is a 3-dimensional, full-service character. He's an all-time promo. He has flaws that more fans are willing to overlook than others right now because they can connect with him. That's what makes him such a great babyface. The only way Ricochet can actually connect with these fans is as a heel. This will open the floodgates for fans to heckle him about Samantha Irvin and his mean tweets. As a good guy who does flips, Ricochet is no different from any of these vanilla widgets in AEW. But as a heel with all that Twitter baggage, he's a nasty villain who stands out. Ricochet previously said Samantha Irvin would not be in AEW, but heels lie. Ricochet should have Samantha exclusively do his in-ring introductions. Then if you want to get Twitter really mad, send her to the back in a potato sack like Mark Merrow did Sable. The world is ready for heel Ricochet in 2025. After years of hitting a wall as a hapless hero, it's time for Andrew Ricochet to be unleashed. Will Ricochet find success as a heel in AEW? Tell me in the comments!